Okay, this is now the tarot lesson number 15. And they say you shouldn't begin a presentation with an apology. But I may get mixed up here because I've got various bits and pieces whirling around my mind, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it'll all make sense. So I'm going to begin with something that's planned, and then we'll look at something unplanned at the end. So I'd like to begin this way. Remember the Blake poem from last time, where we've got he who binds to himself a joy, and it has to do with binding a joy. And why do we do this? If things are going well, we tend to think or assume that it's going to turn into its opposite. That we shouldn't expect that things will continue to be good because there's change in the world, and we tend to think it can't last. So the 15th major trump is the devil, and this whole tarot lesson series began with me shuffling and a card popped out, and what popped out was the Lovers. I think we began with the Lovers, and so we can look at the Lovers as Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, right? Because you've got the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and now here you've got Adam and Eve once they've been cast out the Garden of Eden. So with the Lovers, things are taken care of, things are going well, and you're in good shape, but you have certain decisions to make, or you're going to be required to make some selections, make some choices about what direction you want to go in, or it depends on the question, who to hire, who to fall in. Well, you can't choose who you fall in love with, but who you're going to marry, or let's say that kind of thing. Whereas with the devil, you're dealing with maybe a finished situation, or a situation that is no longer fluid, that certain decisions have been made. And the thing about the Lovers is you make a decision, you've got to live with the consequences. So with the Lovers coming up, when the Lovers comes up, you get the questioner to think things through and be clear about what they're going for, and to make sure that if it turns out well, they're going to be happy, and if it turns out badly or not the way they want, they've got some plan B in place so they can handle a disappointing situation. Whereas with the devil, it's like you asked for it, you got it. You may not realize you were asking for it, but one way or the other, with the devil, we're stuck, we're trapped. So with the Lovers, there's freedom of movement. Here, the people can't move around that much because there's a very short chain connecting them with the rock where they're being held. And so we've got the difference between an angel here and the devil here. So what do we do when the devil comes up? But it may be that you're thinking, okay, so there isn't much freedom of movement. You're living with consequences. How do you go about things? So I happen to write down evil. I know it's the devil. I took off the D at the beginning of the word and wrote down evil. EVIL. Evil is 5, 6, 1, 3 and adds up to 15. So evil and the devil in some way go together. And if you remember back in the Garden of Eden, Eve was tempted. And so Adam and Eve were told, don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, but eat from the tree of life. And so somehow we tend to think that it's good to know the difference between good and evil. And so if we know good and bad, we can make a more informed choice. However, Adam and Eve were told not to do that. Don't go that way. Don't think that because you think you know good and evil, you're going to be wise, you're going to be better off. And instead, what you're supposed to do, if you're Adam and Eve in Eden and you want to stay there in perfection, then eat from the tree of life. And it made, the reason I'm going on like this is because I think this idea in Blake about binding, trying to bind joy, is like things are going well and you want to hold on to it. And you think, whatever I've got is going to turn into its opposite. But is it? And we're told we're not supposed to think like that. We're not supposed to assume that because things are going well, they're going to change into their opposite. Because the thing about, I mentioned at the beginning of the last video about how it's important to remember that we're on Earth, and we've got seasons on the Earth, and so spring or summer will turn into winter, but somehow that's not the same as a good experience turning bad, because summer and winter may be opposite, but it's not like, do you know what I mean? It's not like one is good and one is bad. There's a line in Bob Dylan where he talked about how good and bad are but words used by people trapped in scenes, right? You get the jazz scene, the disco scene. And so for Dylan, good and bad are but words used by people trapped in scenes, trapped like the devil. So maybe when it comes to the devil card, you're trapped in some way, but you're trapped because of the way you think, or because you're assuming that good things will turn into bad things, or that good things can't last. Whereas our ancestors, Adam and Eve, were told, eat from the tree of life. What is life? Okay. I meant to, at this point, I've got evil, E-V-I-L. If you turn it the other way around, oh, sorry, it's life. So evil is live backwards, which is telling us something. I'm not quite sure of what at the moment. But maybe the problem with evil, or the problem with the devil, is in some way you're living backwards, which can mean that you're in the present and you're focused on the past instead of being in the present and imagining the future. And so just because you were involved in a situation that turned bad in the past, it doesn't have to mean that a similar situation right now is going to turn bad in the future. Okay, I've run out of things to say. I can't think of what else to say about that at the moment. And the second part was going to be, because I wasn't sure what to do with this particular video, and I thought you probably find yourself in that kind of situation as well periodically, where you want to do something with cards, but you don't quite know what. And so I'm suggesting what we do is we play. You just pick a card and see what you can do with it. So I can turn a card. Okay, I got the strength card reversed. What does it mean? What does it point to? Who knows? It really depends what the question is. Or one question will get you thinking about this card in a particular kind of a way. So maybe somebody wants to know about health matters. And so with strength reverse, you're out of shape, you're not fit. So go to a gym or exercise or walk or do some kind of yoga or something like that will get you physically moving and make you physically stronger. So the strength card can be that kind of physical strength. Whereas maybe somebody is undecided about whether to leave their husband or leave their wife, and they don't quite know what is the best thing to do. If you get strength reverse, then it's maybe emotional weakness that you're dealing with, because the opposite of strength is weakness. I'm saying because it's upside down. So maybe what you do is you think about can you survive on your own if you haven't got the husband or wife telling you what to do or supporting you, can you manage on your own? And that can be the kind of strength that you're meant to develop. If the strength card comes up to do with a question about separation in a relationship, can you function on your own? And because the card is upside down, maybe at the moment you think, I can't handle it on my own, so I'm stuck, and I'm going to have to just put up with what I don't want because I feel too weak to do it on my own. And maybe at that point you think, okay, if this came up in an actual question and the person said, okay, I want to leave but I can't, how do I go about becoming strong? And you pick a card, for instance, and you get the Ten of Cups reversed. So we're not wondering what the card means, but we're thinking somebody's in a bad relationship and they want to get out of it. How do they go about getting out of it? And we've got 10 upside down, and that's the answer to the question. Because it's a 10, which is 1 plus nothing, gets you back to 1 again, it's a bit like you can't get out of it at the moment, because 10 is a new beginning, but it's upside down. It's going to take you longer to get out of the situation than you think or than you want. And maybe because we've got children here in the picture, maybe that's why you have to stay in the relationship that you don't like, particularly for the sake of the children. But 10 is 1 plus nothing, and 10 is the end of a cycle, so it's the beginning of a new one as well. So maybe what you do with the 10 upside down is think through what you've been through and what you enjoyed and what you didn't enjoy. And when you identify what you didn't enjoy, handle it differently. Because it's not like the entire relationship has been terrible from the very beginning. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have married the person. But there must have been ups and downs, or good times and bad times. So what you can do is identify the good times or the good experiences and do more of them, and identify the bad things or the things you don't like and avoid them as much as you can. So with the 10 of Cups upside down, it may look like you don't have any choice or you don't have any power, but you do if you face what you've been through and make some decisions about what you're going to promote and what you're going to demote, what you're going to want more of because you enjoy it, and also what you want to have less of because you don't enjoy that. And then maybe you think, okay, what's the final outcome? And you pick a card and you get the final outcome is the King of Cups. So again, if it's a woman, then the final outcome is in his hands. It's in the hands of the husband. Or maybe it's in your hand when you, the woman, begin to act like the king. When you get, Cups is love and emotion. So when you get control of your emotions and your emotional state, and control your emotions rather than let your emotions control you, then you get a good outcome. So different ways of looking at this court card. It can represent the husband or the other person who's in control, but it can also represent the questioner. Man or woman, doesn't matter. But we look at the card or the what's involved in the card and use it to give us an idea about how the person can act or how the person can behave to get an outcome that they want. And you play. So but I think it's better, it's more useful, and you get more out of the exercise if you have a question or a number of questions. And then pick a card and figure out what you might say as the answer to that particular question. And then just keep going, and then make some notes and eventually stop and put the cards away and leave it for the moment and do some more tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, today's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll be back on Friday with number 16. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.